Greetings, you wonderful warriors of the broken sword. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Nick.
And we are the Goslings, a digital speakeasy of free thinkers, authors, explorers of the esoterica, and general clowns du jour.
Clowns du jour. Yeah, very nice, very nice.
We're grateful that you're here with us on this Sunday evening, where we air our primary interviews at 6 p.m. Central Time here on YouTube. And we got some pretty cool people in the chat already. Looks like the chat's been rolling. We got like 19, 20 people watching. So thank you. We're so happy to have everybody here. We got a great episode ready for you guys. And I see Jay Reese Bradley is on deck. Awesome
Indeed.
Channel.
We got Tricky Subject.
Yeah, Chris Caps.
Cactus Kicker. Yeah. Kathy Marcello, good evening.
Hello, Kathy.
Glad you're here tonight.
Yep.
Aberforth.
Welcome, my
Yes.
friend. Yeah, good to see you.
Aberforth. Okay, yeah, I got it. And then Mama Bear. Yeah.
Yep, Mama Bear is here.
Awesome, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah,
Mandy
absolutely.
May.
And Online Pay Money. Yes.
Glad you're here. Online Pay.
That's probably one of the most honest YouTube handles you could ever
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's almost like The Real Me. That'd be a great YouTube handle. The Real Me. Yeah.
And Mama Bear was saying that she's making videos, so we'll have to check those out. That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Maybe people should go check them out. Yep, Mandy is here, and then Jay Reese Bradley's a great channel. You should all check out
JRB Live.
Yeah, JRB Live.
Yeah,
go over there. So.
Kana Menard, good evening. Thank you for being here as well.
Hey, Kana.
You guys are in for a treat tonight.
Yep.
We got everything queued up, ready to go. But before we jump into all that stuff, of course, we're going to do our obligatories. And we're going to start with our toast, which isn't really an obligatory. It's really just...
It's a privilege.
It is a privilege.
It's a privilege and an honor, sir.
That's how the Goss do.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Do I lead this time? Or
I'll lead this time.
You lead.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Grab your drinking vessels, which is probably a Kothon mug that we're going to talk about in a second. You should have one of these by now.
Mm-hmm. Or a Goslings mug if you really want to get commercial and crass about it.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Whatever you're drinking out of, take up your drinking vessel now. Put the toasting liquid of your choice therein, and we'll begin.
Absolutely.
Take up the broken sword of your father.
And strike down the darkness.
Cheers.
Amen. Yes. Hot coffee. I cannot wait for the 12-hour half-life of caffeine to kick in.
I can't do caffeine at this hour. This is something else.
Yeah. It's agua.
It's agua. It's agua. Sure. It's agua. It's fiery agua. Okay. If you haven't already, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. That helps so much. We really appreciate it. Also, smack the bell if you would. That way you know when we have another great interview coming your way. We usually do these. Well, we're doing it, and now we're doing streams twice a week.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
We get the Church of What's Cool on Thursdays.
Yeah, Church of What's Cool on Thursdays.
I think there'll be a brief break this month, right?
Yes.
We're taking a couple of those off.
Yeah, the next 2 Thursdays we're off because I'm going to be out of pocket.
Yeah.
But the Sundays will continue, and then as we roll into July, we're going to be every Sunday, every Thursday.
Yeah.
So
yeah, keep your YouTube pimp hand strong.
That's right.
Strike down that bell, baby. Yep.
Was that choke a bell?
Is Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a bell?
Hit the bell, folks.
Hit the bell.
And if you've already done those things, you can help us by just hitting the like button. Hit the like button. Costs you nothing. Takes a second, and you're done. And thank you for that. Thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you guys. Want to real quick just mention our sponsors.
Yeah.
Kothon Spartan Mug. This is the Kothon Spartan Mug. You need to get you one of these. They are beautiful. They're designed by Joel Cherico, handcrafted and hand painted by Joel Cherico and his team at JerichoPottery.com. These are replicas of what the Spartans drank out of. He designed these in collaboration with Stephen Pressfield. Go to JerichoPottery.com and drink like a man. Get your Kothon.
And when you are finished reading Stephen Pressfield's work and watching his interviews on this channel, which everybody really should, please go watch the Stephen Pressfield interviews on this channel. They are pivotal information if you're a creative person or just anybody struggling to attain a goal. We love Steve a lot. But when you are done with all of that, you can wipe your libation from your Leonidian beard, courtesy of Jardani Jovanovic Hair and Skincare
Yes.
Products. JardaniJovanovic.com. Hair and skincare products made for real men, made by real men, or as I like to say, be as sexy as you are deadly. Give 007 a run for his money. Awaken your inner John Wick with JardaniJovanovic.com. Mike Fisher is the owner and proprietor of Jardani Jovanovic. He is a dear friend of ours and the channel, and he is super based, and we really appreciate him. So, as you mentioned last time, Father's Day is approaching.
That's
So
right.
it's
Father's
a
Day is approaching.
great time to get some great hair care products. Everything from hair growth serum to lotion, body wash, beard balms, oils, hand cream. If you're like a working man, and like dude, we get older and like
You want to keep them from cracking and bleeding.
oh my gosh, Dad had that problem big time.
Big time.
Yeah. So
Yep.
Yeah, man. Jardani Jovanovic hair and skincare products. Go there and check them out. They're awesome.
Yes, sir. All right, we have a real treat for you tonight.
Yes.
We interviewed once again Jessie Czebotar, returned to the Goslings, and we touch on some more recent events and topics. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's a 2-part interview. We'll come back on halfway through just to check in on you guys. We'll be in the chat during the interview with you as well. And anything else on you?
No, we got some more people in the chat. We got something like 61 people watching. So,
oh, fantastic,
man! Yeah, it's great.
That's huge. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Well, we won't waste your time anymore with any of our obligatories or perfunctories. Jessie Czebotar is amazing, and we had a great time with her. And everything she has to say, I think, is really beneficial for people and fun. Like, there's a part of it that's like really cool, like just cool to think about. There's some like ancient history stuff in here that was pretty neat. So yeah, we hope you guys enjoy. Behold part 1
Here
of
we go.
Jessie Czebotar.
Your YouTube feed is crap. Stop wasting your time watching bot-boosted shills and self-appointed gurus cloying for your attention. Instead, join the Goslings interview live stream and podcast. The Goslings, a dark-lit digital speakeasy of free thinkers. A super chat of radical truth-seeking wizards who eat trolls for second breakfast. Topics that'll make your mama's hair stand on end. Ideas that'll make your pastor's knees knock. Guests that will illuminate the hidden chambers of your mind. And interviews that strike down the darkness. Welcome to the Goslings.
Jessie Czebotar, you are here for round 2, and we are now in the public portion. We just had an awesome, probably 45-minute Patreon exclusive. But you sent me an amazing article about train derailments, and I would love to get you to talk about that.
Yeah, so the article is from the journalist who has the sole permission to put out my affidavits and a lot of the other legal things. I guess we'll loop it into the legal aspect, or things that deal with my case, my affidavits. So he has the right to put those out and publish those. And that's Timothy Charles Homeseth. And you can find his stuff on timothycharleshomeseth.com. And so this one he titled Blood Beneath the Tracks. The mysterious train derailments are map to underground torture chambers. And he has pictures there of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He has one of the pieces of my evidence, which includes a picture of a building that has like a cement wall with all these children's handprints embedded in it. And then he has my picture there as well. And it says, the mysterious train derailments are occurring in areas of the United States where human trafficking corridors, as well as facilities used for military science experiments on children, are being exposed by eyewitnesses and whistleblowers. And yes, it all leads to lowercase gods that demand the sacrifice of children. And he's talking about Moloch and Baal, who are the fallen angels that Scripture tells us all the way back, in Genesis, that they would demand sacrifice and blood. And he shows again the picture of the facility that I have up, and it says U.S. Court Exhibit and U.S. Army Evidence escrowed by former Judge Randy Lynn Erickson for Jessie Marie Czebotar. And it's so then it says, under the training centers and in the tunnel systems, there are walls which the system calls ritual walls to Moloch and Baal. These walls contain the handprints of over 200 years of individuals who are involved in the system. When a child is born into the system, turns age 5, they participate in a ritual where they dip their hand in blood and put their handprint on the wall. There is preparation that goes into this ritual before the ritual time. Those preparing the children, called teachers, will take the children into the tunnel system or places where children's handprints are displayed like art in small groups, and they will have the children practice putting their hands on the wall in a way that ensures the full handprint is captured. And then he writes, on May 28th, 2023, WMTV Madison, Wisconsin reported several train cars overturned in Baraboo, Wisconsin, near the Devil's Lake State Park Sunday evening, according to the Baraboo Police Department. Then he writes, on October 21st, 2021, Jessie Marie Czebotar signed a 27-page affidavit. He has the link there. It's called Jessie regarding the Cathedral of St. Peter in Rockford, Illinois, for the United States District Court, as well as the United States Army, that provided in-depth details and the very names of people and world leaders who were operating the largest human harvesting and torture operations in the history of mankind. Czebotar was recently interviewed by the FBI, and Czebotar's affidavit spoke specifically about Baraboo, Wisconsin. And I'll stop there, but you can go to his site, and he does have the full affidavit available to read there.
Wow. So the train derailments are happening over these locations. Is that correct?
Where there are underground facilities or torture chambers, places where children are being moved through.
Now, is this happening because is it like the good guys causing the derailment so they can call in the appropriate agencies, quarantine off the area, send in the Marine, so to speak,
the SOF guys to infiltrate,
or is it a cover up? Are the bad guys intentionally
That's
derailing
the question.
these trains?
Yeah, I believe that if it is the bad guys, they're leaving a map as to where where all the important places are. If it is the good guys, then they're displaying for the world that where things have been happening and going on.
How many of these, effectively, these are the same thing as the DUMBs that people are talking about, right? The deep underground military bases.
Some
Okay.
Some are connected to DUMBs, but you do have some of the training facilities for the system that,
Right.
are not directly or distinctly connected to the DUMBs.
How many of these do you think there are in the continental U.S.?
I would say that there are hundreds. The
Wow.
major ones that I turned in, there was 6 of them.
Really? Can you give the locations of where they are?
Yeah, for some of them, one was in Chicago, Illinois. That was my main training center, and there is that military base was undefined, meaning that it's not going to show up as a military base. That is an underground submarine one. That when they took over that one, people can go back and look, back to, I think it was in the fall of 21, where all of a sudden Chicago had all these manholes covers that were shooting up, and they had water coming through the manhole covers. That was because after the military went through there, because that was a submarine base one, they flooded that, and that's why the water was coming out of the manholes. And that particular one was also the one that Cleopatra, when she came to the United States before it was the United States, that was the area where she set up for the four major Egyptian gods in the caverns there for their ritual area. So that's a
Really?
big one. Then you have Palisades, California. You have one along the coast there. You have one that is off the base of kind of Michigan area, upper, um, going through this lakes there. That one's off of Lake Huron.
Okay.
And then, several others. You have Florida. You also have down in the Texas area, there's stuff there, but that one I did not name as one of the six, but yeah.
Do you think that a lot of where are they getting the children? Do you think it's from children being trafficked from over the border mainly, or are they a small percentage, or like where are they
I
sourcing
would
these
say that
victims?
is actually a small percentage. We have to remember that this system has been operating for generations. And one of the things that I turned in conjunction with those bases was that at those bases, the system had breeder programs that go back even farther than World War II, where you had the Nazis coming in. But, the ones that I witnessed, particularly that Chicago one, the breeder program was indeed run by Nazis. And, so they, twice a year, they will impregnate young girls anywhere from age 10 up to 18. Usually they'll rotate. So if you get pregnant during the spring equinox, then they will deliver a premature baby that they ritually kill during the fall equinox. If you get pregnated during the fall, they will, um, you know, induce that labor in the spring and make sacrifices with that. A lot of the breeder programs are connected to the Catholic boarding schools, especially internationally.
Mm.
Right.
And, there's a reason that they have them there a year long. It's so that nobody knows what's happening to those girls and they can deliver the babies for ritual without anybody even ever realizing that those girls were pregnant. Um, so a lot of it is, the breeder programs. Some of the deeper breeder programs, um, have up to 5 generations of, where it was a young girl and then, she's had a child who's had a child who's had a child. So five
Yeah.
generations where they've never seen the light. They've never been in normal oxygen environments.
Mm.
They're in the lower, deepest parts of the system, and some of those are connected with, if we go into conspiracy theories, some of those generations that are bred underground um, become slaves to the giants that they keep, that they pay and bribe um, to stay underground. So some of those become servants of those giants and, care for their needs. Um, and then you've got people that will feed those giants and keep them quiet and underground.
Which, again, I always see things through like a pop culture, esoteric, like telegraphing lens. And I am reminded because I think a lot of that is like that Simpson-esque propaganda, the
Yeah.
predictive programming kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it reminds me what you're talking about, that Joss Whedon movie, Cabin in the Woods, where,
Hmm.
there's this, which is a great movie, like if you don't know anything, but, but that whole movie is like,
Stuff you're like, this is oddly so surreal and real.
right.
Mm.
Yeah. Because that whole movie, it's about this secret government facility that works, underground, and they perpetuate these series of horror tropes And it seems all fun and games until you realize that it actually is a ritual sacrifice to
Right.
appease like the old gods.
Oh wow,
You know,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's such
that's
a
a little on the
bizarre,
nose.
right? But it's so bizarre. You're like, man, this seems like it came out of left field. Like, how did he come up with something this cool? And
Yeah.
it's like, well, maybe he didn't.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
So I wanted to address a few other things. So the breeder programs
Yeah.
is just one avenue or one way that they get children. One of the other largest ways that they are getting children is through CPS. And with that, um, they are literally stealing children right from their parents.
Yeah.
Um, in that with the hierarchy children, you don't even need them to take you from your parents. The truth is that, this brotherhood system is highly involved with the public schools or the different school systems. A lot of my training, I would be marked present in school every day, and yet, I was rarely there. And that was because, they were taking me to military bases or other places for training. So I literally was trafficked straight out of the school. Nobody knew. I'd be home at
Man.
regular time to, be with my family, and that would be until after dinner time, and then my nighttime training would begin. So um, a lot of what they've done has been right under our noses, and they have a vast amount of, resources and different ways, depending on, you know, what in particular the children are chosen for. That makes a difference as to how they're trafficked or where the supply is coming from.
Yeah, I've heard that about CPS before, and it's always made me very leery of them. And now we live in an age where politically, if, in certain countries, as Commonwealth countries, especially if you don't,
Mhm.
reinforce your children's, transition,
Oh,
then CPS will come and take them away from you. And it's almost like any excuse.
Yeah.
It seems.
Yeah.
yeah. Homeschool families
Um,
always worried about that.
Yeah.
CPS showing up at their door, doing a welfare check, making sure the child is being educated properly and living in good condition.
Yeah, properly.
Because the
Right.
child's not being monitored by the state constantly, and so they're
right.
like, maybe we should send someone out. We've heard some things that
Well, and the rhetoric is that, the state has members of the state have even gone on record as saying, like, your children are not your children. They're products of, they're property
Right.
of the state. It's
Hmm.
like, you want to find out?
And that's because they do that, the moment the child's born, they take their
Yeah.
soul prints and, their blood, and those are currencies within that system
Oh, wow.
that, the part of the quantum currencies that, the higher level witches and warlocks are buying, selling, trading off your child's soul prints, and, getting energy and things from that. And
What is a soul print?
it
Real
gets
quick.
just like
it's
their foot, right?
the bottom of your foot. Yeah, they take
Oh,
your
okay. All
Yeah,
right.
the sole of your foot.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
I thought you meant
Yeah.
SOUL. I was like, oh, here's a new one I haven't heard of before. Yeah, no,
No,
you're absolutely right.
SOLE.
Gotcha. Yeah. You had mentioned Cleopatra. I am a huge fan and student of ancient history. I have never heard anything that deviates from the standard story that she just committed suicide with a couple of snakes in order to avoid capture by the Roman army. Talk about Cleopatra, if you don't mind, first. Just whatever you know about
Yeah,
that.
I mean, the best part about, for those high level witches is that they're great at, deceptions and things like that. But yeah, they came into United States area. Chicago is a mirror of Jerusalem and Israel. And
Really?
so there are direct portals there from that Chicago area to Israel as well as other places around the world. So I don't know the logistics of how she got there. My guess is, they use spiritual gates, and as you get into that area, there's caverns and stuff off the water where you kind of come in, and there's an underground tunnel system there that has deep water, and um, like you kind of like come up off the water onto a ledge, And right there in that ledge area, there's a big open room in the cavern, and right there was where she put the 4 statues of the Egyptian gods in a circle. And
Wow.
then they've got, 3 doorways that go into different places in that Chicago area that you can then go through the tunnel systems there. Um, but that's still there as a tribute, at least last time I was there, I should say. Um, I don't know if the military has done anything with that when they went down there, but
There are so many.
It's a Nick Cage movie just waiting to be made.
For real.
I
right?
mean, it's just
Right.
so, it's something that you would imagine seeing in film, but that there are these, there are these statues of these Egyptian gods underground, under a major American city.
I mean, not for nothing, but well, one, like DC is, geomancy. Gary Wayne has talked about
Right.
that before.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
geomancy of DC, which is almost common knowledge at this point.
Yeah,
I
it's
never
true,
thought I'd live
true.
to see that day. But dude, I mean, I'll tell you a crazy story. You remember when? So Nick and I went to Lee University in Cleveland, Tennessee, just
Mhm.
30 minutes east of Chattanooga, and we were in the library, and Lee University is like a Church of God private Christian
Yeah.
university, and it's not anything to like really write home about in the grand scheme of things, but it's probably the biggest thing next to the Walmart in Cleveland,
For
Tennessee.
sure, for sure.
And we were doing the game with Danny
Mhm.
Baker.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I can't remember if I told you this or not. I think I have. I'm sorry. And we were all hanging out in the library, and there was this like wide-eyed stoner looking dude who like sort of ambushed our little group, and he just starts talking to us, and everybody's weirded out, but I'm like, whatever, I'll talk to this guy, like, it's whatever. And no joke, Jesse, this guy starts telling us that there is a Sphinx head underneath like the campus of the university. And it was one of those moments where it's like, I remember thinking, when you just hear something that just has the ring of truth to it because it's so
Mhm.
absurdly bizarre.
Yeah.
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 You're just like, where did you? I mean, this is in like 2001, maybe 2002. So this is before like, National Treasure and all the, all the movies that would make you think that thing is really
Yeah.
there.
Right.
And there's a part of me that thinks like, I mean, maybe. Like I think there's a lot of stuff like that.
Was he trying to coax
Scattered-
you to go see it or something?
No, well, maybe. I don't. I don't
Weird.
know.
Maybe.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because, like, for, the system, they, like, when you bring in the Nazis, fast forward time to,
Yeah.
when they're starting doing their programming in the 1960s, and
Mhm.
all of that revolved around those spiritual gates and information that they had about those. And, so, they had to learn those ancient Egyptian ways. And part of, the whole programming that the military uses, I bring out, it's in my retreat, Beautifully Adorned, where I break down how they use those Egyptian gods in that base Monarch programming. And, connect it to the 4 main sounds that they, have every child kind of learn as they're learning to sing or make sounds. It's that Oma Raset sounds, but how that's like connected to the body. And when you think about that deeper, like, everything universally is also individually. So, the science behind all of that gets really intriguing when you look at, it's not just these statues that she set up, but literally, this tribute to these, principalities.
Yeah.
She was literally setting up a stronghold for them in the United States territory where, their names were not common. Nobody's going to be rebuking or casting them out. Then they make
Yeah.
their names connected to sounds that, It's like, oh, but this is a part of higher enlightenment, right? Nobody knows that they're calling on a principality's name and making these covenants and eventually blood pacts with these principalities.
Yeah.
And so it was a way of hiding all of that stuff. Um, and that became their base of the programming then that, they begin to institute during that, the 60s on through the 80s in the military there. So,
That makes perfect sense. Because, in the Bible, in the Old Testament, Moses, has the duel with the Magi,
Mhm.
right.
and you really get the sense that there is some sort of real dark, powerful spiritual stronghold in Egypt.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Right.
then when you think about how, especially when you hear Gary Wayne talk, how Egypt ties to Atlantis,
Yep.
Atlantis, and then
Exactly.
Atlantis ties to the Nephilim, and the Nephilim to, the flood and the Watchers, and
Yeah.
and then you understand Francis Bacon's New Atlantis and how that sort of inspired the Masonic underpinnings of America, and it paints a picture after a while
Yeah.
once you put enough points on the graph that's pretty hard to ignore.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot
Right.
there. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
I have a question about kind of. I'm not asking you to predict the future,
All
but
right.
we
But you
are.
can.
But we are
Good.
going
I'm glad. I'm
into.
glad.
But you
I'll
can
give
take
you
a
a good
stab at it if you want.
speculation.
No pressure,
Yeah, a
Dylan.
little speculation, a little conjecture. We're going into primary season politically, and then of course the general election next year. Big Daddy T,
Mm-hmm.
of course,
Big
is the main
45.
hat in the ring. But in light of all this and the forces at play, kind of behind the curtain, what do you foresee anything significant happening during like primaries? Are there any
I mean, definitely.
rumblings of?
I think we're gonna get some very interesting things that happen. The first conjecture I got to put out there was something that I experienced, and so we'll just speculate if the phone call was real. Then I was sitting across the table from the man who said to Big Daddy T, this was September 2022. No, let me think, 21. Um, okay, sir, great. We'll see you back in the office on Monday. And the office not being White House, but being the White House in Philadelphia. So I would propose that, you know, that there has been no lapse in service time for Big Daddy T, that indeed he is still our acting, president.
Hmm.
Now, with the other guy, I would again make a proposal that I think we're looking at an actor. And it's sad that we have allowed an actor to
Yeah.
to do such a horrible job and be leading our country and leading it down the tube to destruction. Um, I definitely don't feel that anybody who's on that team with him is going to, succeed into the next part of this race. I think, we're seeing things shifted, position moved. We even saw, you know, the state position that would have been next in line for the presidential position that has changed hands now to somebody that is, more controlled by the good guys. Um, so, we're seeing a lot of people moved and shifted. And, I can boldly say, I really feel like anybody in that left hand part of that path, um, that they just have no more authority. And we're watching as the right hand path, which is, the rhino side, we're watching everything with that crumble as their form of godliness is just completely uprooted. And people are seeing that really they are just as bad as the left hand path. So I think, we're going to be surprised. um, I don't think it's going to quite get to that part with election as we think. I fully believe that the good military is in control. And I think what we're going to see next, we've been seeing the dismantling of our governing bodies as we know it. You know, um, what's left in that, we've already seen pretty much the House come down. We've seen, you know, the legislative branches coming down. Right now we have the congressional and we have the judicial system left. And I think we're going to very quickly see that judicial system fall. And, I think that's going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court level. And when that happens, what do we have next? We have the Congress. But things even with that are moving into place. And I think we're going to see, um, some big things come out of Congress as they start acting like they're supposed to act, or at least I hope they will. If not, I think it'll be interesting to see, will we hold Congress in contempt for things that they're not doing,
Yeah. Well, we should have long ago with, at least 3, if not 5 of the alphabet agencies.
Well, I think all of us as individuals hold them in contempt.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
But how can the people hold Congress in contempt and do anything about that?
And that's the tough part. Well, and
that's the hard part. Yeah.
I mean, I was really hoping that something like that would materialize, but after January, that seemed like the prime opportunity for 45 to cross the Rubicon, and obviously he didn't, and then there's been a persecution of those people ever since. It's been an extreme miscarriage of justice. And, for people who are more skeptical, it's hard to really argue for hope when you see how bad things are getting and how much worse they're getting, and just the entropy of morality, the degeneracy that's taking place all around us. And then you see crazy things like that Instagram video where it's Biden and he's scratching his neck. I don't know if you've ever seen that, Jesse, but you know what I'm talking
the
about?
mask.
It's clearly
you can see the
like
flap mask.
Yeah, no one's neck skin is that loose.
Yeah.
So like when you talk about actors, like, yeah.
I have a couple ideas, I mean, I'm hoping for the Big Bang shocker. Okay. So I have 2 ideas of who I think it really is. The first one, I think it could be possibly the actor Jim Carrey. I
Really?
think, the body build, everything.
Yes.
I mean, he does such a great job playing, those pieces where you just have stuff that doesn't make sense. And, we know he's phenomenal at impersonations, things like that. So he's my top guess. But then there's a hidden individual that I think body build, I think timing, I think, with as shoddy as the system is, that, like when we think about that presidential position, who would they want to hide from treason or from execution that like is one of their top hidden people in the system that nobody would even think is still alive. Yet they need to protect this person because if this person talks, it's gonna be devastation for almost every American. I believe that person possibly could be Osama bin Laden.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, wouldn't that be a twist?
Yeah. Well, he was a CIA asset.
Right?
Right.
And the system did not kill him.
No, it didn't.
He's been hidden in a hosh posh, mansion. And if they couldn't have him underground because the military is going through underground, where do you hide your asset? You hide him in plain sight.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, I remember the creepy and inexplicably creepy feeling when they released the photo of his corpse, and he looked like he looked like Sargon of Akkad. He had the, you know what I mean? Like he had the eye, the puncture in the eye, and
And you're like, this can't be the guy.
yeah, and then they gave him a burial at sea. Like really?
Backwards, not even according to,
Oh, that's
um,
right.
specifications according to their faith. He would have
Yeah.
had to have his feet going towards the east. And who was that? That was Brennan? Yeah, wasn't that Brennan who no, McCain. It was John McCain who also is Mossad. So purposely
Yeah.
it was done disgracefully because he um, knew which way the feet should have been pointing towards Mecca, and they
Mhm.
didn't even point it towards Mecca.
Well, that's the
And
one time
why?
McCain was
Because
right.
I think there was more. I think it wasn't because he was being disrespectful. I really think it was because it was not a Muslim. It was not
Mhm.
Osama bin Laden. And they
Yeah.
can't send somebody who's not a Muslim towards Mecca.
Yeah. Mhm. You know what the Air Force guys used to call John McCain? Songbird.
Really?
They hate Air Force guys hate John McCain.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Well,
heard
because
that too. Yeah.
because he was he was a senator's son, if I remember correctly, and they tried to bargain him out, and he refused to leave. When he was a POW,
Mm-hmm.
and it just old McCain,
Mm.
the Maverick. But he's right. He's right about that. Yeah. So I'm glad to hear somebody else talk about that, because that always seems so just bizarre. That
Right.
whole death of Bin Laden thing.
That's an interesting theory.
Yeah, and
That's a very interesting theory.
but it is verifiable that he was a CIA asset, and it's the
Yeah.
same thing that it's the same thing that like Hillary did with um Gaddafi, and probably the same thing they did with Hussein. It's like you use these people, the CIA uses these people, props them up, uses them as chess pieces on the board, and then when the piece is no longer useful, you just take it out. Or if they don't want to go to
Yep.
the petrodollar, if they want to go on the gold standard, then you
Right.
take them out.
I
Exactly.
think it's beyond pieces. So in my affidavit, I've brought out, that really in the Brotherhood you have circles, which are, witches or warlock coven circles, and you
Mhm.
make vows with your circle that you will keep your brother's secrets. You will, um, cover up if they're caught in a crime. Like you'll do everything to cover up their secrets. And so what you have happening with some of these individuals is, they've taken those brotherhood vows, but then, you know, primarily with Gaddafi, I brought forward that I overheard phone calls and stuff, concerning him when I was a child, and he really wanted to save his people, especially the women and the children, and help get them out. He was born as a hierarchy child into the system, didn't want to
Really?
be there, and they basically, because he was fighting to really get people out of the system, eventually they did take him out, his
Wow.
whole circle group, which did
Man.
include HRC. She was part
Yeah.
of his circle group.
Oh yeah. We came, we saw, he died. Ha 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 ha. Yeah.
Mm.
That cackle.
Right?
Jeez.
Mm.
Yeah. You should get an award just for being able to be around that woman for more than 5 seconds, Jesse. Honestly.
Wait,
I did have
Sorry.
my payback. I mean, I could share that story. That would be fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, please do.
they would come every well, I won't say every weekend, but multiple weekends when I was starting at age 5. They would all come for what they considered the book club. And they would have that, at our house. And my proctor would serve everybody dessert, and they had their book, To Kill a Mockingbird. So think of that, To Kill a Mockingbird. And, what were they planning? What were they plotting? What were they talking about? At 5 years old, I understood, that I wasn't stupid by realizing that they never opened the book. And I would ask, what are you reading? What is that about? I would get lots of interesting stories and answers. And on my Twitter, you'll see me, I called John Brennan Boo, and there's a reason for that. It's because,
Boo Radley.
when he would come, he would stay at a house that was like, just a little bit down the block from ours. And we could not walk past it on the same side of the sidewalk. We would have to, going to school, we'd have to cross the street, pass the house, then go back and, get to the school. And I would say, why do I have to go across the street? Like, the guy comes to our house. Like, why do I have to cross the street? And they would just say that he was like Boo Radley. So therefore I just started calling him Boo. But anyway, to get kind of kickback towards them, I was mischievous and I switched the salt and the sugar jars, and whoever made dessert for us that time made strawberry shortcake with salt. And the faces were priceless. I will just say, Brennan took the blow for everybody, because you had to tell my proctor how good it was, and you had to finish the whole dessert. So they were sitting there, the last piece, and all of them were like, no, and finally Brendan stepped up and took the last piece. So he took one for the team.
Interesting.
Awesome.
I want to know what the leverage was. We know he didn't eat it willingly. HRC had something on him.
Yeah, no kidding.
She's just sitting there looking at him like, you're gonna eat it. I'm gonna kill you here and now.
You're gonna eat it, or you're gonna be, hanging from a tree by an extension. All right.
Hello.
And we're back. What did you guys think of part one? Pretty good, right? Sorry, I had to adjust my headphones. Little input jack.
It is heavy stuff.
It is. And I mean, this is great, man, for, being able to talk about all this stuff. And we are honored to have her. So,
absolutely.
Man, the chat has been awesome. We got a ton of cool comments in the chat. Nick is going to pull up our Patreon real quick, and then I will talk about that. And then while I'm talking about that, I will be buying time for Nick while he gets part 2 queued up.
Appreciate you, brother.
That's a little brother behind the scenes. Yeah. In case you're ever wondering like why we structure it this way, it actually is so that like I talk about these things, so Nick has time to pull up part 2. Yeah. So we have a Patreon. And the QR code is right there on your screen. It is patreon.com/the goslings. That's with 2 S's, boys, because we're cooler than that Ryan guy.
Yeah, we don't like to talk about him.
Yeah, it's like the Top Gun thing, Goose is spelled with 2 O's, boys. Yeah, goslings is spelled with 2 S's. So the Patreon is great. In fact, most of you guys who are in the chat are on the Patreon. And we are always super appreciative of that. The Patreon is something that we have as a back channel in case YouTube, ever kind of zaps us as far as ad revenue. It does cost a little bit of money to get these things going and to keep this channel running. And the Patreon helps us buy new chairs, which I actually was on Facebook Marketplace looking at last week, trying to find new chairs because Nick's chair is like killing him, and computers and upgrades and all that stuff. And it's not an exorbitant amount of cost that goes into running a YouTube channel, but like it costs money. So, but the great thing about the Patreon is we're able to protect the channel by having full exclusive interviews, including this one with Jessie, where we are able to touch on all the things that YouTube won't let us talk about without giving us a channel strike, which we have received in the past. So the Patreon is a great way to get exclusive content that you can't get anywhere else, and then also be able to get discounts on stuff like merchandise. And then depending on what tier you are, like if you're at the lowest tier, the $5 tier, then you're just, you get access to the schedule and you see what we have for the coming month. If you get like the higher tiers, then you are able to get discounts on merch and free books from us, signed copies of our books, exclusive t-shirts, signed letters that we like type on a typewriter and then sign, and we like wax seal it and send it to you. Like we tried to like design it so that it was stuff like it was worth the money for if we were on the other side. Yeah, what we would be willing to like think is a good deal. So anyways, go to Patreon, scan the QR code, or go to patreon.com/the goslings and check it out. Everything from $5 all the way up to like, we have a few spots for like $100 sponsorships. If you want to be a sponsor of the channel and we can like mention your product or your service, if you have a ministry or a website or like some music or whatever. So, man, the chat has been awesome. I want to give a big shout out to Joanne Breeze, who just gave us a $29.99 super chat, super sticker.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. She says,
thank you.
Video game controller throws a face down tantrum in between the words rage quit.
That might be a particular emoji.
Oh, yeah, I think it probably is. Oh yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Yep, rage quit.
Joanna, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's how we feel sometimes, in addressing some of these topics. It's just like, oh man, like what are you gonna do? That's why we're so happy to have people like Jessie on here who are helping us out and spreading the word.
Yeah.
And there's that phrase, you're over the target when you're catching flack.
Yeah.
When
you're taking fire, you're getting close.
Yeah. The enemy does not, the thief in the night does not come to steal from an empty house.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. And so like, man, people like Jessie who take flack from people, like, she's onto something, man. She's got it dialed in.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she's touching a nerve.
Yeah, exactly. And that nerve is screaming.
Man, real quick shout out to Ice Queen.
Yeah, Ice Queen.
Back. Thank you so much for the super chat. $50 super chat. Love you guys.
Man, that is
we love you too, and it's good to see you again.
We missed you, Ice Queen.
Yeah,
and
you've been gone for like a couple months, I think. Haven't seen you in a couple months. So
had to get a new screen name, and I think we've tried to email us at the goslings group at gmail.com. Email us so we can have a back channel communication with you.
Yeah,
because we think about you a lot, and we care about you, and if we could get you to move to the UK and Tricky could like show you the ropes on all things UK, like, dude, that'd be the coolest thing in the world. I told him, I was like, dude, you gotta, like, if that ever happens, you gotta send us pictures.
Oh yeah,
like that would be the coolest. That's one of the coolest things. I'll tell you. One of the things about the Patreon is some of you guys have actually started to talk to each other outside of the chat.
That's what's cool.
And that is like, honestly, that's the thing that we really love about what we do here is like, everybody always talks about like, oh, I want to build a community. Yeah, we like actually do want to build a community. We love talking to you guys. You guys are hilarious and awesome. We have 5 Minute Freak that we do, where we have a bunch of funny questions for our patrons, and we've gotten like Cactus and Tricky have sent them in. We're gonna air those when we come back for Thirsty Thursday, or the Church of What's Cool episodes on Thursday
nights. Yeah, that'll be starting in July.
Yeah, starting in July. And man, we've just like, it's such a cool community, and we love the idea of like you guys connecting with each other outside of the Goslings.
Yeah.
We love it that you're here, but we think it's super cool if you guys start talking to each other on the phone and texting each other, like that's what we're like, that's the ministry of the broken sword. Baby. So, and then I think let's see. Oh, we got a $20 super chat again from Ice Queen. From Tricky, for Tricky?
On Tricky's behalf.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
That is very kind.
Ice Queen, you're so sweet. Thank you. We really appreciate that. As Pete from Dark Saying says, it is never expected, but it is always appreciated.
Always appreciated.
And, Nick and I, we're just like a couple working stiffs, man. We got day jobs. So like, being able to like do this, if we could get this to a point where it was like sustainable and we could do it all the time, like, dude, can you imagine just like doing this like 4 days a week, 5 days a week?
Man, that'd be fantastic.
That's the dream, man.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to have that much fun in my life.
Yeah, fair.
Is that legal?
For now. Until AI takes over. Personally, I think I'd be a little flattered if there was an AI video of me out there.
Would you?
Yeah, because I think that'd be hilarious. Also, like, there's literally nothing that AI could say that would be more scandalous than something I've probably said at some point. So, like, you can't hurt my...
It's already documented.
Yeah, you can't hurt my reputation. I'm just, like, throwing the gauntlet out, Molech, America in Cars is here. He is one of our good friends, too. Great to see you, America. And then we've had a bunch of other people. Mine Toots is here. Mine Toots, who might have the absolute best name.
And Mine Toots asked, what is the name of the Probably Alexandria video? iPet Goat? The iPet Goat video? What's it called?
Yeah, so she covers it in an iPet Goat video, but I can't remember which one it is. Probably Alexandra is one of my favorite YouTube channels, and she almost has to exist outside of YouTube now. Because she's like Jessie in a lot of ways, where like she's over the target, I think, on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And she's really worth finding out where her content is. I think that might be in the video entitled The Two Witnesses, or it might be in her dissection of QAnon. I'm not sure, but most of her content is really, really worth exploring. It's great stuff. And also, shout out to Jessie. Jessie Czebotar has been in the chat, and we really appreciate Jessie being here and like interacting with you guys and helping everybody out and helping people understand like this dark, awful underbelly that has been controlling, these governments and everything forever. Like, dude, I mean, when we talk about like striking down the darkness, this really is like this is what we're talking about.
This is dark.
This is the kind of thing. I mean, honestly, it doesn't get a whole lot darker than this, and
it doesn't get darker than hurting kids.
I'm like on the verge of asking Jessie, like, is there like a mercenary band I can join?
You could literally strike down the darkness.
I could literally with 20 rounds of 308 per magazine. I got so many guns.
The aliens are also darkness.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
You're ready. Aliens are just demons you can shoot.
I'm ready for it. Mandy May is here. Pat Wright is here. Aberforth is here. Mike Fisher is here, the owner of Jardani Jovanovic.
The Branch.
The Branch is here. Let's see. Mama Malamute is here. He's a good friend of mine. He's awesome. I love Mama Malamute. And then Mama Malamute has his own channel, by the way. If you're in the Middle Tennessee area and you need dog training, he's
your guy.
Contact Mama Malamute. He's genius. Marissa Cruz is here, and then Pat Riot was here, and then I just want to make sure Heather Cox, Mark Hubbs is here.
What up, Mark?
Yeah.
Carla K just joined.
Oh, hey, Carla.
Yeah.
Yep. Is it Carla with a C or Carla with a K?
Looks like
I got to scroll back up.
It says Carla. It's spelled with a C. Carla and
with
then last initial K.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. The first woman I ever loved was Carla with a K, and so. Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't hold it against you, Carla. I'm just saying, I'm glad it's a C.
Yeah.
Get to separate.
All right. Let's get back to the interview with Jessie, part B. And this is equal in length. We'll catch you guys on the back end. To chat with you some more. And of course, we'll be in the chat as we're watching with you.
Yes, absolutely. All right, enjoy.
Here we go.
Okay, we probably have 30 minutes or so. I think 20, maybe 20 minutes. I know we want to
patrons questions.
Yeah, we have a couple patrons questions. Let's get to those, and then we have a fun one, and then we want to end talking about your beautifully adorned ministry. So,
all right, great.
Nick, you want to kick off patron questions?
Yeah, patron question from Margaret. She asked, could you ask Jessie to possibly elaborate on the planned near-death experience type event that the enemy has planned? Apparently, she heard Jessie mention it briefly on another show. And she was wondering if we're protected from that as Christians, and is this event their false rapture that they've planned? So there's speculation that might have something to do with aliens or UFOs or something.
Yeah, exactly. They actually have multiple, end time scenario events that could transpire. Certainly, it could be alien invasion. It could be mass natural disaster, earthquake, flood, tsunamis, things like that. It could be a bioweapon, worse than COVID, which would probably contain Ebola of some sort. So they've got many on the docket. But what I was specifically talking about in that is, how the light side of the system, they connect that mass or near-death experience with their star seed theories. And, that has to do with the Palladians and, the galactic things going on. So in that belief, they tell you that if you, are in that near death experience and a star seed approaches you, that you're just supposed to let it into your body, consider yourself lucky and chosen. But what I was saying in that was don't let it in.
No.
It's a demonic
Yeah.
spirit. You're not chosen or lucky.
Yeah. You're
Rebuke
definitely not
it.
lucky.
Tell it no. Don't let it do anything to your body. Um, yeah, so that's where I was going
Wow.
with all of that on that
Okay.
show. But
Man, it'd be great to get you and Vicky Joy Anderson together to talk about that. 'Cause,
Oh yeah.
yeah, she has some awesome stuff to say about UFOs, alien abductions, sleep paralysis, demonic, entities, all that stuff.
Mhm.
A lot of crossover on
yeah,
that Venn diagram.
Yeah.
That's an
very cool.
awesome answer.
Our other patron, tricky subject, asked, and this is great. And we talked about this in the exclusive segment, so
Mhm.
this will probably
Okay.
be a repeat question for you, Jamie. It's considering the opinion of guests such as Tim Cohen. Would you say that the Antichrist is already here and in play, or do you have a different perspective on this?
I believe and have experience. So my experience is that the Antichrist is here, and that individual was involved in ritual preparations with me from the time I was 5 until age 10, specifically for end time event scenarios. One of those events taking place in the underground city of Mars or Zion, which also just so happens to be under Area 51. So you have 3 pyramids under there, and so I would. There's just some, I'll say, ritual stuff that's supposed to happen. All of that stuff has been turned over federally on my end as to the locations and the things that are supposed to transpire there. Um, so I would say, yeah, that individual is already here.
Okay.
Um, any elaborative identifiers or clues maybe you could give about who that individual is,
Yeah,
Or
or
conjecture?
I encourage people to, think back to Israel whenever you have that question, who is the Antichrist? It really goes back to, when Israel was asking the Lord back in the days of Moses for a king. And, they were not happy allowing a prophet or God himself to lead them, and they were begging for a king that would lead them specifically in military conquest. So, not just somebody who's going to set up and rule, be more of an administrative type leader. Like they are specifically wanting somebody with that military background and prestige. And in that, as we look at that, there's over 250 prophecies that Israel is looking for. They've been watching the prophecies, the signs, the wonders throughout the years, trying to figure out who this individual is and predicting the time that they would come. Now, with that said, there have been many um, false Christs that throughout each generation, where I would say that since the time of Christ, there has been many false Christs, one at least for each generation. Usually, the system has three that they have. And so, with that, we know that Jesus Christ fulfilled all 250 of those prophecies, particularly, ones that he had no control over, such as, it says that, the Lord says, I will call my son out of Egypt. And Mary and Joseph, shortly after the birth of Jesus, had to flee to Egypt because Herod was trying to destroy all of the boys that were under age 2. It also says that he would be raised in Galilee in, the land of Nazareth. And we see that's exactly where he grew up later on. So all of those prophecies Jesus fulfilled, yet the Jews rejected him as their Messiah. They did not believe that he was God come in the flesh, and they did not receive him as the Messiah. So when we think about that, we're not just looking for anybody. You know, the Antichrist is somebody that Israel has to accept in that Messiah roleship because, a couple things. They are going to declare this individual to be God, their God. So that's all very important. So as we look at some of those things, I know Cohen has brought out stuff about, could King Charles be the Antichrist or trying to receive the Antichrist spirit? When we look at Charles, let's just be straightforward about it. There's no way the Sanhedrin are accepting him as their Messiah. They're not going to allow him to lead them in any military conquest. They're not going to declare him as their God or their king. So, if we look at those things, it really helps us to rule out who this individual could be or may not be.
Yeah, and that was something I think Tricky had even mentioned in a comment on our Patreon. He had talked about the disparity there. So yeah, that's a pretty common criticism of that particular theory.
Yeah.
Real quick, before we, I know we got like two other things we want to mention. I just want to see if I could get like a little bit of elaboration on the city of Mars, Area 51, the three pyramids. It almost sounds like it's a Giza necropolis mirror. Any information on that and how somebody might be able to find out more stuff about it?
Yeah, there is some stuff. The Pentagon Pedophile Task Force has put up some of my statements on that city. I think I've done a couple shows on Aquarius Rising and, where we talk about the underground cities. So in that, the things that I remember with those three pyramids and that site is that, in the kind of you got the pyramids and then you've got this big open area that looks like this massive cathedral, all this red clay, red dirt. In there, you have the 13 thrones, which are believed to be Nephilim thrones. And right in the center in the floor, there's a huge, massive stargate that's on the floor.
Wow.
That is one of the ancient ones that has, the older writings on it, and it operates. All of them operate through song, but that one is connected to the ancients. So a lot of times they won't even refer to it as Nephilim or giants. They'll just say the ancients. And if you're not aware in the system, of the Brotherhood teachings or things like that, you would see that equated to aliens and alien technology. But in that area, there's also the Nephilim skulls, which have end time prophecies that are embedded on them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the ritual I went
Whoa.
through, we had to put my blood on one of the skulls, and that was to activate it so that when that day comes, which the ritual is not going to happen, I'll just be a spoiler there. But if I were to add my blood to that, then the prophecy would come forward for me to read. So,
Wow.
Wow.
I think that was maybe in that article that you sent me. That part about the Nephilim skulls.
yes, it was.
I
Yeah.
remember reading that and being like, dude, that is wild. I mean, and again, that's the kind of thing that like you see in a movie and you think, wow, that's
Yeah.
such a
Indiana
wild
Jones, the
and the crystal
fourth
skull.
one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's
And
based off of that area. A
Yeah.
lot of the imagery you see there looks exactly like that underground ritual area.
Wow.
that makes perfect sense. I mean, Hollywood, Holly Tree. It's isn't Hollywood mirrored after what is it? The Lake of Athena. There's some sort of esoteric like witchcraft Greek mystery cult correlation with Hollywood and some geomancy in ancient Greece. I wish I could remember what it is. I think that if I'm wrong, correct me.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that, but
You
of
probably
course,
know more about that than
Hubble
us.
we didn't use witches wands, so
Yeah, you didn't have to. Let's see. Okay, we definitely want to talk about the beautifully adorned stuff. Before we do, kind of funny, slightly lighthearted topic. We just think this is cool. Nick had mentioned this to me, and I had no idea. We wanted to ask you, what's Roseanne Barr like?
Oh my gosh, she's great. I love
Yeah.
Roseanne. Really, she surprises me all the time because you think of her so much with just all the comedy, but she is so passionate about her faith and her relationship with God.
Really?
We've gotten into several really like in-depth scholarly type conversations. I would love to see her and Gary Wayne talking, which George Eisman and I with the Reveal Report have talked about getting the two together.
That'd
Um,
be awesome.
and having that conversation because she just is so in depth with stuff and so really neat lady and I adore her for sure. So
That's
Very
so
cool.
that's so awesome. Everybody remembers her obviously from her TV show, and
Yeah.
that's kind of how she's imprinted on the
yeah.
average person's brain. But then over the past like 10 years, she's at least 10 years, she's kind of been more outspoken as a libertarian, and
Mhm.
she's kind of taken this cool turn. But I had no idea that there was like a Christian angle to her
Yeah.
Oh,
now.
yeah, definitely, and, I
That's
mean,
cool.
yeah, just her, um we've talked to, the depth of, her Jewish faith, yet her belief in, the Lord it is just amazing, and then, with that, we've done several shows where she shares her testimony on there and
Oh,
some
cool.
interesting tidbits that people can go back. Like you can go back and watch her shows and catch it, but she had
Hmm.
told me that every Halloween she would give the gospel message, and when you go back, you're like, oh my gosh, like she did, like you realize like how she slips stuff in there all the time in her
Oh,
shows,
that's
and
awesome.
Cool.
yeah.
How long is she a Messianic Jew, or is she a full-blown Christian, or what?
I would say both, all the above. You'd have to ask her for sure to get a right answer on that. But
I'd love
yeah,
to. I'd love the
amazing. She's gonna
opportunity.
have a new
Yeah.
yeah, she's gonna have a new podcast coming up too,
Really?
here soon. So I'll check in with her and see if we can make some connections or something. But
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, that'd be
she's a
so
neat lady.
cool.
Heck yeah.
That'd be awesome. Thank you. Where can people go watch your conversations with her?
We've done several on the Reveal Report with her.
Cool.
So I think there's like two of them on there with her. I know I had done one show with her several years ago on her old podcast. I don't know if she still has that up. But those are the primary ones are on the Reveal Report with her.
That is so
Cool.
cool. Never in a million years
Yeah.
would I think. Life is full of awesome
I wouldn't
surprises.
have thought so either. Like, I mean, I still remember the day she called me. Like, I had somebody, a friend who watches my shows, and they had seen her in chat, and she was saying, I need to talk to Jessie. And so they thought, oh, maybe it's somebody posing as her, and they were trying to figure it out. And then they gave her their number, and she actually called, and they were like, "Oh wow, it is the real Roseanne." So then they called me, and they're
Awesome.
like, "Okay, Jesse, like you just call this number, and then they're like, oh wait, no, we'll just give her your number. Is that okay?" And I'm like, I don't know who this is, and they're like, no, 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 this is the real deal. And called
Wow.
her. She
That's
called, and it was
awesome.
like oh wow, this is the real deal.
That's
That
so
is
But
awesome.
awesome.
she's such a supporter of survivors, because she's
Is
been in
she?
this fight, against the system for so
Yeah.
many years.
I had no idea.
And,
Yeah.
she is just 100% standing alongside of those that are fighting the system. And, she's fought herself tooth and nail to bring forward the truths about the system, especially with
Yeah.
Hollywood and, the different areas there. Um, she's a fighter. So I stand with her.
That's
That's
awesome.
so cool. We talked to Brian Godawa not too long ago, and he was in the Hollywood system for a long time. And we always, we love to like go down the punch list of like based conservative Christian, like Hollywood, survivors, basically, and
Yeah.
just, Braveheart,
Yeah,
our
talk
Lord
bro.
and Savior Braveheart, Mel Gibson,
Right.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
He won't return my calls though. I don't know why.
No, I keep sending him letters,
What?
and maybe I need a different perfume on them. I'm not really sure,
Oh gosh. Well, there's your problem.
Right, yeah. Okay, step number one,
I
let's
mean, you
roll it
gotta
back,
start with, I am not Illuminati, but
Right. Yeah, but let's talk about some
I
things
really
here,
want an interview.
I mean, I got the Braveheart sword right over there, come on. Um, well, last thing we want to touch on, and we're kind of saving the best for last. We want you to talk about your healing ministry, Beautifully Adorned. Tell us all about that and how people can get involved in that and what they can do for you.
Yeah, so that the video for that is going to be released on my website, kingdomlivingwithjessie.com, sometime here in June or July. In the meantime, this next year, the Lord has told me that I'll just be, traveling, doing several of these retreats, and they really are so powerful. Coming out of that world as a survivor, there's so much against anybody who has had, especially if it's ritualistic abuse. There's so much coming against us in that healing process. But what what Beautifully Adorned is focused on is really, how the Lord taught me to walk through my own healing journey and, sharing the tools, the techniques, things that come straight out of scripture that the Lord has shown me throughout the years. And really it gets down to the basics of, what I would call or classify as self-deliverance, not meaning you're just going through it yourself, but really it's about your relationship with God, and together with the Lord, you're walking through that healing process through your traumas, trials, and challenges. And you don't have to be a survivor to go through it. You don't have to be somebody who's had severe trauma. Maybe you work with people um, you know, who are going through things. Maybe you have family members that are going through things. This course is taught to really get into the nitty gritty. What it comes down to is that, as we go through things, um, there are offenses that are committed against us, sins that are committed against us, or maybe in fact we have committed sins in that process.
Yeah.
And in that, scripture tells us that if we confess our sins, that he's faithful and just to forgive us from
Yeah.
all unrighteousness. We talk about how the enemy gains his legal rights in our lives to oppress and depress. And so, when we're in that state of unrighteousness because of sin, the enemy has every right to come and to, hold on through that oppression and depression. And oftentimes that's what keeps us bound, and, unable to get the healing that we desire. Or it feels like, we may have confessed, we may have forgiven people, yet things keep cycling back around. Why do we keep getting stuck in those cycles? It's because the enemy has built a stronghold there.
Yeah.
So, we teach how do you break those strongholds? How do you get rid of, the altars, the idols, and the spirits that are attached to them? How do you get to that place where really you're in that state of righteousness before God? And, I'll just kind of do a spoiler alert, but this was the most powerful part of that event is that the Lord kept bringing me back to the passage where he's washing the disciples' feet. And Peter says, Lord, don't just wash my feet, wash my whole body. And he says to Peter, if your feet are clean, your whole body is clean. So we do a foot washing at this event. And the Lord told me that the majority of Christians have never heard these words. They've never heard the words, you are clean. And they've never heard, with that, you are forgiven. And to come to that place where you really receive that cleanness, and it's not based on what you've done or what you haven't done, it's really based on what the Lord Jesus Christ has done for you. that as you confess and ask that forgiveness, He's faithful to cleanse us from all unrighteousness, and really receiving that. So, we had so many people. I did a great, my last episode with Casey Kuzik on the Watchman podcast. He was there at that event. We talked about it quite a bit. And I also put up a video short on kingdomlivingwithjessie.com titled Beautifully Adorned, where we talk about the event if you're interested in coming. I encourage people, to watch for those. I'll just say, the course that's going to be online is still going to be powerful, but it's not going to be as impactful as if you really attend an event, because there's something there about experiencing that with a group of other people and learning to,
Oh, for sure.
walk through that healing journey with others. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's some great stuff out there. I know I'm going to have a couple events here coming up August and probably October. And then I'll start again in the new year, probably around March with those events. So,
Cool.
I know that, oh gosh, probably 15 years ago, 18 years ago, I did an encounter training, sort of a boot camp for the Christian life sort of thing. This like
Mhm.
4 or 5 day
Yeah, I remember that.
intensive, 12-hour seminar kind of thing, group therapy session. And one of the things we did, though, that I'll never forget was we washed each other's feet.
Mhm.
And like that, for anybody who has never done that before, that is one of the most profoundly powerful things you could possibly
Yeah.
do. There's nothing like it. Absolutely nothing. So that is
Yeah.
an awesome move.
That's awesome.
Well, for men, Jesse, what can men do for this? Please tell me that there's some task force that I can show up.
I
with.
am going to encourage men to show up. We actually had a good
Really?
amount. We had a good amount of men who showed up. One
Yeah.
of the things that we walk through, the Lord has shown me that the strongest stronghold that men are facing right now revolves around sexual altars and the different
Mhm.
sexual sins. So, unashamedly, we address that. We talk about it all. We name everything that we can possibly think of that
Yeah.
people are struggling with, and we put it up there. And it's like, okay, people, you're not going to get another place where you can openly and unashamedly say, okay, Lord, here's my sin. I'm confessing it. I'm putting it out there. And what is God's heart? His heart is not to put us in a place where, we're going to be shamed and condemned because of our sin. The Lord wants us to have that freedom. He wants to bring restoration in our relationships, or maybe it's your marriage, maybe it's, your relationship with a serious relationship with a girlfriend. Maybe it's your relationship with your mom where, things have been bad because of the way that you see women or perceive women, and maybe that
Yep.
stems all the way back to your relationship with your mom. So all of those things the Lord really wants to heal. And every guy that we had come, they said they were so deeply moved by the Spirit of God in that experience. That there was work that the Lord was doing, things that He was releasing, setting free. Um, so this really is for everybody. I tried to, make it as widely friendly as I could. Um, and it will surprise people. It's not, you're not gonna go, it's not gonna be super girly focused. Um, we've got a lot of women that show up, but I think it's really gonna, you know, speak to men. We start off the conference by going into, I break down the symbols that the system uses in programming, in their military programming that they do for children. I talk about how they make attachments with demonic spirits and those children, how that works, how you begin to identify. Even, because it even happens to you while you're at school. Like you may not even know that it's system programming, yet you're being exposed to it because they're testing you. They're seeing if they want to use you or not in the system. So how do you begin to realize how you've been, trained, programmed, what spiritual authorities did they put you under from the time you were a kid that are the
Mm,
main principalities that have ruled and had jurisdiction over your life. And in fact, when I break that down, I show how they link um, your natural tendencies to the seven deadly sins, and in that put you under the jurisdiction of certain principalities.
yeah.
And so, all of that stuff, you're not going to get anywhere else.
Ah, we got to get you and Vicky Joy together. You two would be a powerhouse. Is there anything um is there anything that the greater American patriotic citizenry can do about the stuff that you talk about with
Absolutely.
all the
I
trafficking?
do land assignment coaching as well. That goes along with what I teach about anointing, tearing down strongholds, and building up the true church and body of Christ. So, in those land assignments, the first one starts, I teach you how to read, break down, and understand, through the city symbols that you're going to see, on the signs as you go into any city in the United States. And we do cover internationally as well. So wherever you go, you can look at those signs and understand which principality has authority in that area, as well as which brotherhood orders have authority and are operating in that area. We talk about, then how do you begin to use that knowledge that you have of the how the brotherhood is operating in your area to tear down those strongholds of sin that are in your area. The second land assignment, we focus on the authority that we have and the fullness we have in Christ. And how do we take that information that we've gained and turn that into an amazing prayer strategy or intercession strategy where we begin to move out offensively in spiritual warfare to take back the authority in our communities, in our homes, and the areas where we're in.
Ah, that's
So
awesome.
Cool.
that one's very interactive. So many you can attend as many as you want. Every one of them is a little different because we always have different people. We look at different areas. So much information in those two courses,
And
coaching sessions, I guess.
the best place for people to find that is kingdomlivingwithjesse.com. Is that right?
Yep, and look for coaching, and that will have the schedule of when the next ones are coming up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cool.
Well, we're creeping up on the 2 hour mark. Thank you so much for your time, Jesse. This has been
Yep.
awesome.
Absolutely.
The last thing, we got so many cool things out. This was such
This
an
is great.
amazing interview. The last thing that we typically do for our guests these days is, our motto is take up the broken sword of your father and strike down the darkness. So I just wanted to ask you if you had any parting words for our audience for advice on how they might strike down the darkness.
Absolutely. I would encourage people to read 2 Samuel 5:20. In there, it talks about King David going into a specific land that was called Baal Perazim. And in that verse, as David goes into Baal Perazim, he makes a declaration that our God, is God of the breakthrough. And that word perazim literally means place of breakthrough. But what's interesting about that is the Lord kept showing me that those two words together, that literally the place was called Baal Perazim. So who, were the people in that area declaring as their God of the breakthrough? It was Baal. And so in that, the Lord showed me a very important strategy of how Baal works, that just as the Spirit of God is moving and about to give us breakthrough in different things in our lives, at that last minute, that's when Baal comes in to strike. And as I was focused on that passage, the Lord took me also to Psalm 78, which in there it talks about a kingdom harvest, and that would be the harvest of cumin and caraway. And as I looked up how do you harvest cumin and caraway, literally they take the stocks and they begin to strike down and beat them. And the Lord said, do you see? That's how you overcome Baal. When he comes to steal your breakthrough, you strike him down. And, literally take that stick and just whack him down and proclaim, our God. He is Jehovah Perazim, the God of the breakthrough and the breakthrough of many living waters.
Hey, if you guys have been enjoying this interview and you'd like to hear the rest of it, including some really down and dirty stuff that we're not allowed to say here on YouTube, head over to patreon.com/the goslings. We'd love to have your support there and share exclusive content with you.
That's right. Keep it cool. And remember, these are interviews that strike down the dark.
They do indeed strike down the darkness. They strike down all the darkness.
That's right. Strike it down hard.
So hard.
So hard.
Every time. Makes me laugh every time.
I know.
Oh, my goodness.
Poor Nick. We were laughing about how, like, watching that, I ambushed Nick with, he didn't know I was going to say that at the end. And so, like, you see in real time what Nick's reaction time is like and how quickly he thinks on his feet. And it's just so funny.
I wasn't thinking too quick.
it was pretty great.
Oh, man.
Yeah, dude. The last, like, 10 to 15 minutes of that conversation with Jessie,
it was phenomenal,
especially powerful. It is such good stuff, man.
I'm gonna put the chat up here on the screen for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys wouldn't mind, give a quick thank you to Jessie for taking the time
Absolutely
to come on the show again.
Yeah.
and talk about these things. I know it was heavy stuff, it was dark stuff, but
it's stuff that needs to be heard.
It needs to be said, it needs to be heard. We
Yeah.
need to be aware of these types of things.
Yeah.
We really appreciate. Thank you, Jessie. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was always great when we get to talk to you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tricky, would you guys be kind enough to pass on my email to Ice Queen, please? We just need Ice Queen to connect with us on the email first, and once she does, then we'll get you two set up. That's what we're all about here, man. Yeah. So, dude, this was such an awesome interview. Our first interview with Jessie was awesome.
Yeah,
but man, like the second interview, even better. Like, can't wait. And I think we might have Jessie coming back for round 3 in either late July or early September. I have to confirm it with Jessie first. But,
okay.
We got something cool.
And I want to say this. I want to say this too, guys. These interviews are pre-recorded. Okay, so as you're watching the interview, we're not live with the guest in that moment.
Yeah.
But Jessie has been in the chat.
Yeah.
With you guys this whole time.
Yeah.
Not every guest does that.
No.
Takes the time to come back and be with our viewers.
Yeah.
As they're chatting and commenting. That's huge.
Yeah.
And that is really I really appreciate it. I think it's phenomenal. Thank you for doing that. But if you guys would just, again, give Jessie a thank you for the time and then coming back and spending time with you as we're watching the interview together. Man, it's very considerate.
It really is. Yeah, it is very considerate. And like Nick says, Jessie and I think really John Bernardo,
John has.
There have only, not everybody has the time to do that, and not everybody can make the time to do that. So it's always a sacrifice, especially on a Sunday, a Sunday evening, a Sunday night. So, man, it is, it's really cool. And
Chris Caps, $2 super chat.
Yes.
Yeah,
thank you,
dude.
Chris. Yeah.
Let's turn this up a little bit.
I know. Yeah. Jack that up so we can give it props.
Do it again. Can you hear that? That's for you, Chris. Thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, thank you, Jessie. So awesome. So much light.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This has been fun.
Yeah.
Everything seemed to work.
Despite the thunderstorm.
Despite the thunderstorm that was blowing over us during this whole time. A couple of close calls.
Yeah.
But we kept all the holes plugged in the ship so we didn't sink, which was great.
Yeah.
And we have our tail end obligatories that we want to go through, but they're kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to go through those.
Yeah, it is.
Let's start with your book.
Oh.
I want to start with, is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's
okay.
Everyone, real quick. Oh, I got to get them added. Dadgummit. Sorry.
That's all right. I'll talk about it.
Yeah, talk about it while I'm doing this.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves.
I'm feeling verklempt.
Verklempt.
So Nick and I are authors. That's actually how the Goslings started out. It started out as a writers group.
Yeah.
Long before we were doing the YouTube channel, we were hanging out talking about writing in our books. And so at the end of the day, even though we have this amazing content where we get to interview amazing people like Jessie, we also are still authors, and our books are available on Amazon.
They are indeed.
We are Christian authors, and sometimes our books are overtly Christian, like mine. Sometimes they're more subtle, like Nick's, and he'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But for me, I wrote the Heavenly Realms series. It is a 7-novel series about the wars between the angels, and it's sort of like Braveheart meets the Book of Revelations, meets like Rome Total War and Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Like, it's a civil war of brothers, and a lot of it is about ultimately the human condition.
It's a supernatural civil war.
A supernatural civil war. So the QR code is on your screen right there if you want to scan it for the very first book in the 7-novel series. It's called Empyrean Falling, and I'm really proud of it. I love the paperback. The ebook is great in a pinch. I also am really proud of Adam Burrell's work narrating the audiobook.
Yeah.
He sounds like Alan Rickman, and he did an amazing job. So everybody should really go support Adam and get the audiobook. And I would encourage you to get the audiobook maybe even before the paperback. And then if you ever got the ability to, like, reach out to me and you can get like a signed copy of the paperback. But I'll read you the description on the back and just burn through that real quick. On the 6th day, God created man. On the 7th day, he rested. Then all hell broke loose. Lucifer, driven to delusional vainglory by his envy of God, fears the Almighty will cast him out of heaven in favor of his creation, man. Resolving within his heart to thwart divine divorce and burdened with fierce indignation and gnawing ambition, he maneuvers behind the backs of his 2 archangelic brothers, Michael and Gabriel. Recruiting potent cherubim and seraphim to his cabal, Lucifer vies to fulfill the prophecy of the dragon, a once ominous portent of war, but now, in the hope of his nightmarish illumination, might foretell an angelic heresy. Ever faithful to God and their choirs, Michael and Gabriel wrestle with the advent of their eldest brother's suspected revolt and the impending fall of the angels. And though they've trained for millennia to defeat the dragon, nothing can prepare them for the maelstrom their morning stars fomenting in the shadowy neighbor of his luminous heart. And when war comes, it will turn all of heaven into a scorched charnel plain. Saints will sour to villains, archangels will weep and rally, angels will die, cities will burn, legends will be born, and blasphemies will deluge the riven land in a bloody sea. But amidst a heavenly realm of endless massacre, the sons of God will find their faith. Seen as a revelation through the eyes of Archangel Gabriel's last prophet, Empyrean Falling is an epic romance of faith and hope, love and fear. A recounting of the war that is neither fact nor fiction, but a myth that can make a believer out of anyone.
Nice. Very nice.
Thanks.
Gosh.
It's been like
I should have gone first.
4 years since I've read that.
That's good.
I've not looked at that since it got published.
My book is for kids.
Nice. It's called The Timepiece. Good night, everybody.
It's about magic.
Yeah, goodbye.
So the timepiece is for middle grade readers ages 8 to 12. And I'm going to read the book description off the Amazon page.
Because it's shorter and better.
It's shorter. I wouldn't say it's better.
Yeah, I don't know.
12 magical worlds await the next chosen boy. An evil wizard waits too. 10-year-old Hoops craves an adventure and the chance to be a hero, but will his appetite for danger and exploration be his undoing? When Hoops receives a mysterious gift, an old timepiece, he accidentally unlocks its magic and is whisked away, forced to travel through 12 different fantasy worlds. If he can survive the adventure, he'll be inducted into the Travelers League, which is an ancient order of brave children who have all made their own journey with the timepiece. Little does Hoops know that an evil wizard trapped in one of the worlds will stop at nothing to steal the timepiece and escape to the other worlds, unleashing his power and taking revenge against the Travelers League. Can Hoops evade the wizard's snares and become a member of the Travelers League? Find out now. Take the journey.
And you have 8
Join
books in
the
this
league.
Yeah?
Yeah, 8 books.
8 books.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
it's so much fun. It's like kids adore the Timepiece and the Travelers League series. Like, it is wildly popular. Homeschool parents love it.
Yeah.
Like, tons of people really love these books, and they're not really super big, and there are little illustrations in them, like at the chapter titles.
Yep.
And so, like, it's just such a cool, fun thing that Nick did. I've been
That's
working on
fun.
this series for like 20 years, but Nick came out of nowhere and wrote these suckers in like 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, knocked them out. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I had my kids help me.
and Adam narrates some of those.
He does.
as well.
He does.
And they're on audiobook as well.
They are.
But you don't do ebook.
No, I don't. This is available in paperback and audiobook and hardcover,
Yeah.
but only printed copies and audiobook.
Yeah.
For
Why
the
is that?
timepiece. Only for middle grade readers I do this.
Yes.
I don't offer my kids books in ebook format because I'm sanctimonious and self-righteous. And I would never hand a smart device to my kid and say, read this book.
Yeah.
I would never do that for my kid. And I would never, so I don't think it's just something that I don't believe in.
Yeah.
I think kids should read the printed word. That's just me.
Yeah.
And so it's hypocritical for me, I feel, to offer it in ebooks for other parents to do that same thing, because I'm really like it is really not good for kids.
It really isn't. Yeah, Nick's been working on that. That's a project he's got in the works. He's done a
Oh, yeah.
ton of research on it. And I'll tell you, like, I say this all the time, your principles don't mean anything until you sacrifice for them.
Yes,
And Nick did sacrifice sales,
I did.
by eliminating the ebook
Yep.
portion of that. And that's honorable. Strength and honor, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Strength and
Thank you.
honor.
Well, I wouldn't want to see my kids reading an ebook.
Yeah.
I don't think it's right to go sell ebooks to other kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's totally
if it's not
fair.
good for my kids, it's I'm not going to think it's good for other kids. That's
Mhm.
ridiculous.
Let's see. J. Chris Watson. What's up, buddy? Good to see you here. He says, with respect, how do you square that with Pauline doctrine on women pastors? That's a good question. I'm with you, actually, on that. If that's what you're implying. Everybody has a different opinion on that. I don't know if I would necessarily look at Jessie as a pastor necessarily, because that's kind of like a very specific title,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm like, I don't know if I'm getting off on a technicality here or not, but I think you can be a teacher without being a pastor in a pulpit of a church. Like, I think that's a very specific thing, but and I don't think Jessie violates that at all, to be perfectly honest with you. But I do appreciate the sentiment, and I think that is a big problem with like the blurring of the lines of who can be what in the church, and that's been like a big part of the woke movement, So I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong on that, but either way, like, Jessie points to Jesus, and she's got a lot of good things to say. Let's see.
Mike says strength and honor, Nick. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, strength
Appreciate
and
it.
honor, brother. Yeah. Let's see. There were some good ones in here. I want to make sure I get to them. Sorry, it's taking me a second. Ice Cream said show the other book. I didn't see it. I don't know if you're talking about the first one. But it's just My Heavenly Realms book.
Yeah.
You can find it on Amazon. And Ice Cream, you got a new email? That's good. Just email us at the email address. I think it should be in the show notes below. It's the goslings group at gmail.com. If you guys need to reach out to us. In fact, Zach Aberforth, you had something, you like make potter's boxes. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I'm interested in it. Dude, we'd love to talk. Absolutely. Yeah. Email us. If you want to be like, if you want to make something, that we could promote on the show, or if you want to be a sponsor or something like that, or if you want to partner up with us, like, dude, it's just us. It's just us and Mike Fisher, and our Kothon mugs that Joel gave us, so man. Yeah. Oh yeah. Aberforth, you also asked if we need an illustrator. Yeah, honestly, that would not be a bad idea, because we've interviewed Roxana, and she's a painter, and she does a lot of really great work too, but she stays super busy. And sometimes I like to use her for the big things. But then, like, it's cool to have maybe some other people lined up who can help, like, fill the gaps or do something different or separate. Yeah. So yeah, man. Yeah. Aberforth, email us. Absolutely. The goslings group at gmail.com.
And I'll tell you this, Aberforth, one thing that we have promised to never do is use AI for any illustrations or editing
Yeah.
or cover design.
Mm-hmm.
We've committed to only engaging human artists for help with these types of with these elements of our book, with our art.
And you can too.
So yeah, and you can too. And this is leading up to the Buy Human Pledge, which I
Mhm.
think everyone should consider.
Mhm.
Consider the Buy Human Pledge. We made a public statement that you can sign if you're an artist and you want to publicly make the statement that you're not going to use AI to create your art. You can put your name on the list alongside ours, lock arms with us, lock shields with us.
Yes, shield wall of faith, I
Yep.
think was what somebody called it earlier in the chat.
Let's keep art human.
Yes.
At least there's a core group of us that appreciate what that means.
Yeah.
Honor the image of God in you and the creative gifts that he's given you.
Yeah.
And commit publicly. Hey, you do it when you get saved. You make a public commitment, you get baptized.
Yeah.
If you want to tell your readers, your viewers, your listeners, if you're a musician, a visual artist, an editor, a writer, take the pledge. Put your
Yeah.
name on the list with us. We'd be honored to have your name alongside ours. And if you're not an artist and you just want to know if there are people out there that have promised not to use AI,
And you want to use those people.
and you want to use
Or
those
support
people,
'em.
yeah, you want to check out their art, their music, their books,
Mm-hmm.
scan that, go
Somebody
to the
did.
list. Yep.
I
Yeah,
just saw
someone
it.
just scanned it. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Thank you guys for that.
Yeah. We're
Take
all about the Buy
Buy
Human Pledge.
The Buy Human Pledge. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Jay Chris Watson says, apologies for kicking up a hornet's nest. It is a question I earnestly asked and was not intended to disrespect or derail the chat. No harm, no foul, man. I think that's a
Yeah.
perfectly valid question. And I think it's a great question, honestly, because, you want to hear somebody say some amazingly beautiful logos, godly things about baptism. Check out Vicky Joy Anderson's last interview that we did with her, where she talks. I mean, dude, I had to cover for this guy because he was almost in tears. And I don't blame him.
I was moved.
Dude, if I wasn't so
I was having a moment.
if I wasn't so emotionally constipated, I would have been too. I mean, but here's the thing, I am very I don't want to speak for Nick, but I think Nick is kind of in line with this. Like, I am very traditionally minded when it comes to gender roles under the umbrella of God and, men and women and how like all that's supposed to work. But I have noticed, and I've been taught, I think by God over the years, that there is a place for instruction, because like Chris Caps said some amazing things in the chat about this. And, one of the things is he said, like, men are the head because we're the leader, but women are kind of like the neck and the shoulders. They help you turn, and it's almost like women are the heart in the way, and man, I had a counselor, a therapist that I went to twice in my life, and I still have breakfast with her sometimes, and she's one of the wisest women I've ever known, and one of the wisest teachers I've ever known. She ends up actually being a character in the last two Heavenly Realms books. I think there are plenty of very, very ordained, anointed, powerful women out there who can instruct and help course correct and gut check and be there for us in the way that men need them to be there for, without violating that Pauline doctrine at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Jessie's one of them. Like, I'm all about it, man. Jessie's great.
When you think about the book of Proverbs, the last word, the last chapter in that book, and the last word in Proverbs is not what a godly husband looks like.
Oh man, yeah, it's true.
They go through the hundreds and hundreds of Proverbs, and then that last bit, the ending, the end note of all of it is, hey, by the way, this is what a wise woman looks like.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I think maybe John Holler has talked about it before. I can't remember. Somebody talked about how, the man is like the representation of God in a way, like in the head and the crown and all that kind of thing. But then like the woman is the beauty of the crown, and like the crown is incredibly important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like there's some things in there that are really cool. Carla says because Jessie was a chaplain. That's for veteran I think for veteran affairs. And Carla said a chaplain is different than a pastor. Jesus sent out Mary and other women as disciples. He also appeared to them first. Yeah, you know,
Good points.
yeah. So
Good
and
points.
dude, I'm like Mr. like dude, you know, logos trad guy, like, you know, I am
the patriarchy.
yeah, I am the patriarchy. Yeah. So Will Bentaker is here. What's up, Will?
Hey, Will.
Good to see you, buddy. God so rules. That's an awesome name. He's here. He says, "Glory be to God" from Australia. Amen. Dude,
Thanks for watching, man.
We got some patrons in Australia. We
Yeah.
got a bunch of cool people in Australia. I think Colin McIntosh.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Colin.
Yeah, Collins, and he's got a great channel too. He sometimes shows up here. So, yeah, let's see. I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything. Mike Fisher says, then the Phalanx would move forward as one unit to execute their offensive strategy. Yes. He says the Phalanx serves as a defensive and offensive purpose. Yep. They would fend off attacks by linking their shields together to form a protective outer layer, a shield wall. And then they would go on the offensive. Very true, Mike. Yep. Very true. So... Mandy says, "Why am I crying right now? Oh my! It's because you're all jazzed about Joan of Arc, who is pretty cool. You know, yeah. You want to talk about like my kind of girl?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Joan of Arc. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you see God, and you're like willing to like lead an army. Yeah, I'm down. Yeah.
Date night is sparring.
Yeah, date night is we team
Instead
up.
of lingerie, she puts on her armor.
Oh yeah, it's like The Last Samurai, except the roles are reversed. You know, the greatest love scene of all time. You know,
Fantastic.
I'm putting her armor on. Yeah. Don't get me started on Brienne of Tarth. You know, let's see. I'm just making sure I'm not missing any here. Maria Sumnick says the first evangelist was a woman. The woman at the well went and told everyone.
That's true.
Yeah, you know. Marissa Cruz says men and women both have a lane and are equally needed in our roles. Absolutely.
100%.
If everyone does their lane right, it is a well-oiled machine. I mean, honestly, it's like James Brown said, you know, it's a man's world, but it don't mean nothing without a good woman's love.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, you have to have
It's
that.
so simple.
It is. It's so simple. And, you know, I don't need to learn how to like be more sensitive and wear tighter jeans and, you know, and just like learn how to like paint and do yoga. And I don't need a chick to like have more muscles than me, you know?
Yeah.
Like, dude, we're built and designed for a purpose.
Yeah, different purposes.
Different purposes.
Yeah.
Different purposes, you know? Yeah. Anyways, Telefreak says I'm an Air Force brat. Something isn't right, dude. I'll tell you, like Air Force is pretty dope in its own way that a lot of people don't talk about. Like combat controller teams, no one has ever heard of combat controller teams. If you want to like learn about like a hardcore MOS that only the Air Force has, combat controller teams. It's like 2 years of training. Yeah, dude. Yeah,
intense.
They're the guys who wear the red berets. Those guys are awesome. So, yeah, okay. I don't think I'm missing anything else. I want to make sure I get to all the comments that are. Let's see. Jen says, I just got home from church. I'm going to start from the beginning. Just wanted to pop in here and say hi. Hi, Jessie. Yep. Hello, Jen. Yep. I'm sure Jessie saw your comment. She is in the chat. She says, love you, sister. And these guys rock. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I think, was Georgia Girl in here? Yeah, Georgia Girl is here also. You've been here the past couple times. So, okay, cool. We're creeping up on 8 o'clock. Let's see.
I guess we got to wrap.
Yeah, let's go ahead and power through our awesome obligatories, our patrons, and all that stuff. And then we got to talk about the schedule for the rest of the month because it's a little different.
Let's actually do the schedule first.
Okay.
And then we'll see if we can do all the patrons and sign off before the music ends.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, cool. So next week, next Sunday, we will not be recording and we will not be in studio, but we will be airing
a Father's Day episode.
A Father's Day episode with a good friend of ours, Jacob Beach Peterson, who has a YouTube channel called The Preppers Bunker Outdoors. All one word, The Preppers Bunker Outdoors. And we talked about wokeness and hypocrisy in like the patriotic secular community, like Black Rifle Coffee Company and all these things.
It's the perfect Father's Day episode. The title of the video is Father Warrior.
Oh, that's cool.
Strong.
Yeah, it's strong. It's worthy of Jacob.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because he is a strong dude, and we like him a lot. He's really cool, and I might actually like get to hang with him pretty soon.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. To it. So, but Nick will be out of town, so we will not do a Church of What's Cool episode this upcoming Thursday, and then we won't be recording an episode on Sunday, but we will be airing the Jacob episode at 6 p.m. and I'll be in the chat. I'll be available.
Okay.
And then will we have a Thursday episode after that?
I'm traveling that day.
You're still traveling. Yeah. So things will kick off back to normal as far as our schedule goes. Not this upcoming Sunday, but the one after.
Yeah, the 25th, which will be an Illuminati after party.
Illuminati after party.
And then we'll kick off Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday,
and
Thursday.
We'll be back to normal. So June's going to be a little bit of a different month, but we appreciate you guys hanging with us through all that stuff. And then it'll probably happen again like in September when I go on vacation.
Probably. Yeah.
So anyways,
we get it figured out. You going to the beach?
You know, I want to go to the beach, and I also want to go see. I want to see Mark Chadwick.
Oh yeah,
out in Waco.
Yeah,
and then I also want to go and see my friend Steven out in New Mexico.
Oh yeah,
so I might.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. So I might be taking like 2 weeks off, and then maybe another week. I don't know. Whatever I can afford.
Sounds sandy either way.
Yeah, just like me.
Yeah, gritty and sandy.
Gritty. Yeah, it's. I hate it. It gets everywhere. Yeah, I'm sure it does.
All right, well, let's give our patrons a shout out, and we will sign off. Let's see here. Let me make sure I got everything queued up here. All right, guys. Here we go. Starting with our Spartan level patron. I better turn that down a little bit.
Oh, we're rocking, baby.
I know. They're probably getting it. Okay,
blowing their ears
probably
out
blowing
right
their ears out. First off, Goshog Lifts on Instagram. Go to @Goshog Lifts for fitness content that inspires young men to reclaim their identity and purpose in a generation of darkness. Whoop, let me get over here to Pressfield level patrons. Melissa S., Joanna B., who's in the chat tonight, and Lisa S. Thank you guys for your generous support. Our Hemingway level patrons, the backbone of the Goslings. We have Margaret D., Greg W., Patrice. We have Tim. We have Jody. We have Merkin Cars. We got Tricky Subject.
Yeah.
Chat tonight. What up, Tricky? And then our first phalanx of Orwell level patrons, Timothy 21, Callie, Kina, who's in the chat, Karen D., Rita, Mark A., Joshua, Courtney, Bob, Julie, Ruta Lee, Savannah, Bay, Joshua, Link, Alanya, Melissa, Vicky, Kelly, Marsha. Love you guys. And here we go. The phalanx taking the right flank, winning the war. Jabber, Charmaine, Jerry, Marsha, Cheryl, Chris Caps. What up, Chris? Karen, Canine Training, Mama Shaw OC, Cascadian Breeze, Gabe Bello Music, Mike Fisher in the chat tonight.
Yeah, what's up, Mike?
Generous patron. Thank you, sir. Carol J, Jamie J, Shawnee, Sunny S, Michelle, Charlotte, and I ran out of music.
Touching down.
So close. So close. Ran out of gas, and the plane dropped on the runway.
Ran out of gas.
Oh, my goodness.
Piped in off the surface.
My goodness. Well, that's all we got for you guys tonight. We love you all. Hope you have a great week. And Jonathan will be in the chat next Sunday with you guys for Father's Day. I won't be here, but happy Father's Day to you, men.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you to everybody for being in the chat. We had a ton of people. We also had a lot of people watching live, and we want to thank Jessie for also being in the chat and for joining us for an amazing interview. And we cannot wait to have her back to talk about September 11th and Jesus' birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it's going to be a good one. So,
absolutely.
Anyways, I will be in the chat on Sunday, and then things will get back to normal after that. In the meantime, we hope you all have an amazing week and a great Father's Day. In the meantime, take care. God bless. I am Jonathan.
It's Lucifer.
And I'm Nick.
I'm your huckleberry.
and we're the goslings. Go forth
And strike